Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for a post-match point in association with Purity Ale. What's the code? Use the code hashtag Villa View and you'll get 10% off everything that Purity have to offer. I'm your host, Dan Bardell, joined by Omar again to talk through Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Aston Villa 0. Bad week for Villa, Omar. I know you watched Ted Lasso. Lost 3-0 to the Greyhounds, Richmond in the week, didn't we, Villa? And then taking on Wolves on Saturday. The kind of opposition we're seeing to struggle against. I'm trying to make jokes just because it was a funny one yesterday, because obviously we've been so used to, in the last month or two, great results and then a couple of defeats. You kind of forgotten what it felt like a little bit last week, and now it's happened again. 2 games without a goal as well. It is disappointing, but I got to say, I thought there's some absolutely ludicrous stuff on social media and whatnot. Yes, I saw the players' mentality getting questioned at one point, which is outrageous considering the run that they'd been on before these 2 games. To question the players' mentality, I find personally, I find that bizarre. But it wasn't a good day at the office for Villa. Went down early, didn't we? Didn't really recover from that. Couldn't break them down, Omar.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few points there, isn't there? There's I think in terms of players' mentality, we've had to be near on perfect to get to the position we're at now. Man City won 10 games in a row. Before these last 2 defeats, with 10 unbeaten, 8 of those as victories.
Yeah, it's sensational.
To then go on and beat Brentford and Man United, which have been 12 with 10 victories, we're just not at that level, unfortunately. What we've done already is a miracle. To go further and beat Brentford and Man United, Brentford away, Man United, not Brentford, sorry, Wolves away, and Man United away. It would have been really difficult. Wolves now 10 clean sheets at home, the most in the Premier League. It was always going to be a difficult game. It wasn't going to be like the Brighton 6-0 game. We said that in the preview as well, and they were well up for it. And they scored that early goal, which really rocked us, I suppose. And which was, I suppose, probably their game plan was to score that early goal, sit back, defend. And I thought we were all right. I thought we played fairly well. As Emery said, we've played far worse in 1 games at home and away this season. Think about the Chelsea game where we 2-0, which we obviously love that victory, but we let a lot of chances in front of our goal, and another day they could have scored 2 or 3. Whereas, Wolves really, apart from the goal and then 1 half a chance in the first half, and then, one went across the box, they didn't really create much. And we created 2 or 3 decent chances. Another day, Mings doesn't volley it over the bar. Watkins hits it to the side of the goalkeeper with a header. There's, Buendia, amazing save by Sarr. It's just one of those days. It's just, we'll come on to the stoppage time, but even if there was 10 minutes stoppage time, I just couldn't see us scoring, and it's just frustrating, really. And I think the players have run out a little bit out of steam. It's the same 12, 13 players we've used. It's always going to be difficult. They've done amazingly well to get to this position. We just don't quite have enough at the moment just to push on a little bit more. And it's a shame. We're getting players back, but maybe if they came back 2 or 3 games ago, it would have been a different story. And, our luck's run out a little bit, and it was always going to be difficult. Always going to be difficult. Never say never, obviously. We've still got 3 games left, and you win 3, you probably get Europe, but it's going to be really difficult. I think after a 10-game run, we sort of felt invincible. And now you lose 2, you feel like you're never going to win another game. It's just
or score.
The life of a football fan, isn't it? And we haven't scored in 2 games after scoring every game for 20 games. So it's just, peaks and troughs of being a Villa fan, isn't it? Unfortunately.
I think literally nine times out of 10, didn't we, in that run? I think it was literally 9 times out of 10. I think we went ahead.
Yeah.
And we've gone behind. We went behind to Brentford, managed to claw back a point. But, in these 2 games, the 2 defeats, we've gone behind and not really had an answer to going behind. But I think your point at the start is valid. We've come against Manchester United, I think, have the best home record possibly in the Premier League. They certainly have the best home defensive record in the Premier League. They've only conceded 8. And then when you reel off that Wolves have kept 10 clean sheets, we have gone to 2 places that are tough to score, really. And we didn't really have an answer for Wolves defending deep. Their game plan was perfect. They went 1-0 up. They've won a game off a set piece, a little bit like we did against Fulham. Not really done much else going forward, Wolves, but they haven't had to. We didn't really seem to have the nous or the creativity to pull them out of position and open them up, did we, at this stage of the season?
Yeah, no, we didn't. And we relied heavily on Buendia in the game against Wolves to do something, and To be honest, he showed flashes.
Good first half, second half maybe not so good.
First half definitely showed flashes, but second half he was disappointing, and it was a similar story to his last 3 or 4 games. Again, I think he's one of the players who run out of steam a little bit. It's not quite happening. Misplaced passes. You just need that little bit of extra quality for him. And I think a £40 million, you expect a little bit better. But I'm not going to knock him, because he's been a really important player for us in that run as well. Let's not forget that without him, we don't win those games. So I think any of the players. I think we said this. There's going to be a point in time where there's going to be this season or next season where we're going to lose 2 or 3 games in a row, and you just can't get on the backs of players because they've done so much. We historically, to that 10-game run is one of the best ever runs we've ever had in the top flight for a long, long time. You've got to applaud the players for that, and at some point it was going to fall away, and it's really frustrating. Though it is frustrating, I get it. I get fans were disappointed because we were within the grasp of the European places. We were in such a great position, and just being a little bit better, in the final third. Even if we got a draw in that game, it would have probably been enough playing Spurs next week.
Yeah, draw would have been big if we could have pulled it back, but I still think we could be playing now and we wouldn't have scored.
Yeah. And you can't blame the manager, and you can blame the players in terms of individual moments. Like I think Watkins should do better with his header. I think definitely, obviously, Ming should do better. But at the same time, those guys have done so much for us. Without Watkins' goals, we're still fighting for relegation. I think that's easy enough to say, and I think you've got to just. You can criticise. You can say, "Look, that wasn't a good performance," or individual performances were lacking. That's fair enough, but question mentality in that, I think that's
mentality is not on at all.
I just think that in terms of the game itself, it was just a bit like every time we played Wolves. It's never our day against them. They're up for it. They get that early goal, and things just go against us. Just like the amount of fouls Wolves got away with in terms of yellow cards and. Niggly foul, stopping us playing. I suppose that was the game plan, but also like the stoppage time, 3 minutes.
That was outrageous.
2 head injuries, like lengthy head injuries, 8 subs. Where has 3 minutes come from? And the handball, I know we haven't really talked about it, but I think I don't know. I don't know what is handball, what isn't handball anymore. I have no idea. I know he's, you can say he's in a natural position and it hits his arm, but then you see the week after, it's given. The West Ham one today, like how the hell is that not given? I just don't understand what is handball anymore. It makes no sense to me.
I'd have been upset if that had been given against us, if I'm being honest, but mainly because I don't know what handball is myself.
Yeah, I know exactly. Anymore. When I saw it, I was like, maybe not handball, but then next week we'll see something similar given. So that's my issue with it.
But if the ref gives it again, it's one of them ones. He doesn't get overturned. He gets kept as a penalty. Exactly. I think that's the annoying thing with that kind of thing. I think I'm not Wolves. Fair play, 1-0. I can't really argue it. In the second half, I don't remember us really creating anything clear cut from open play, really, which was the disappointing thing. I thought we might come back in the second half and have a real good go, but I actually thought we were better in the first half in the end than we were in the second. And I think one thing I think it does show yesterday. I think that Watkins hasn't scored for a few games now. There's not enough goals around the team, really. If he doesn't score, we're struggling, and he hasn't scored for the last is it 4 games now?
We're struggling really because you've got Ramsey, who's just not hit the heights of last season, and I think he's been great in some games, like Newcastle games, fantastic, but and he did try. He's obviously always trying to drive forward, and
they're all trying. Again, it's not lack of effort yesterday, is it?
Traore and Bailey were, unfortunately, as much as I love them, they were both really poor. Traore especially. McGinn tried and toiled, but again was missing. Louise was okay. Moreno got forward a couple of times, but not really. And we're really heavily reliant on either Buendia coming off or Moreno coming off, aren't we, to create chances?
I think he was difficult for Moreno yesterday. I think he was getting pulled around a little bit, and I think if he came forward, we were really susceptible on the breaks. So I think he had to curtail himself a little bit. That's what I think.
I mean, that's when if you have someone like Matty Cash coming in, then you can sort of trying to get him a little bit more forward, and that right hand side is a real weakness for us, isn't it, at this very present time? And again, there's no fault with the manager, no fault with the players. We're missing. The previous manager decided he doesn't want wingers, he doesn't want wide players. He didn't sign anyone in those positions, and we've been stuck with a sort of lopsided squad. We've been stuck with sort of 12, 13 players of good quality, but just not having enough in the squad. and the managers work miracles, and the players have worked miracles to get where we are. And I think you have to just take it in context of the overall position and where Villa were at, a few months ago compared to where we are now, and also where we're going to as well. I know some people say, and I'm sort of the same opinion, will we get this chance again? Will Chelsea and
it's a worry.
Liverpool and Spurs better next year? But you've seen what Newcastle have done. People could have said that about Newcastle. I think there's an opportunity here now. I think those teams, Chelsea, Spurs, Liverpool, just aren't as good as they once were. And there's always an opportunity there, especially with the size of the finances we've got, with Elamani coming in. I just think there's still an opportunity there next year. I'm not getting disheartened by it at all. I still think we can push on, but we need to sign, 2 or 3 real quality players in that final third. So, difference makers. We need someone who are more consistent than Buendia, Bailey, Traore, and the like.
Yeah, there wasn't really a difference maker on the pitch yesterday. Watkins a bit starved of service because Wolves were so deep. He was feeding on scraps. It was a difficult day. As I say, credit to Wolves. They defended really well, and they shackled us and kept us at bay, and we didn't really have an answer for it. Once they went 1-0 up, I think if we'd have gone 1-0 up, for example, it's a very different game. But we've lost the game because we've not defended a set piece very well, and they're unfortunately the fine margins that you can have in football, and we've ended up losing the game. Like I say, we won a game a few weeks ago off a set piece where Fulham fans would have been coming away probably saying we've lost that game because we've not defended a set piece properly. Yeah. We didn't read the warning signs, and I think that's what happened with Villa yesterday. But I think you've kind of touched on an important thing that we've all been delighted with how we've been doing. We've all got a little bit not carried away, because I think there still is a very real chance of Europe, and the chance for Europe has been there because we were sitting in 6th a few weeks ago, so we were right to talk about Europe as a possibility and something that can happen. But I do think it's been taken away a little bit just how well the manager and the players have done. They've almost done too well, whereas they've maybe created a little bit of a thing now where when we lose, there's a bit of an overreaction because expectation is so high, and I'm not sure that expectation should be. So, look, I'm guilty of it as well. I'm not knocking anyone. I'm guilty of it as well. My expectation's been high.
100%. I mean, we were going to do the pod yesterday, and we were both too pissed off to do it.
Yeah.
We don't want to be reactionary, but I get it. I get people are pissed off. I'm not saying you shouldn't be pissed off.
We've punched above our weight for the last 2 months, I would say. That team's no right to be going on that kind of run, really, especially with where we were coming from. And it's been a sensational run. It's been absolutely fantastic. It's been so enjoyable, and I love the players and the manager for it. But I do think it's created a bit of not a false narrative. I don't want to say that.
It's false position, I think.
Not even a false position.
But you know what, though? Liverpool and Brighton both had plenty of games in hand. And it was always going to come to a point where those games are going to matter. And, fair play, Brighton. They've been fantastic.
Liverpool have gone on a huge run as well recently.
I've got to go.
We've got to go. Children problems. Or baby problems. For Omar this evening. He's okay. You leave us, and I'll delve into the comments and see what's going on. Thank you, though, Omar, because I know you did nearly have to pull out at the last second, but you still come to help us out. So thank you very much. Right then, the show nobody wanted to see, at least not me on my own. So give me some comments. Like I said, I don't think we're in a false position, but I do think that the fact that we've done so well, and as I said, I don't think we had any right to go on that kind of run. Nobody saw that run come in, that now when we lose a game, it feels a bit like a catastrophe. Obviously, if you go back to February, when we lost 3 in a row after a good run, it felt like the end of the world, and then we bounced back. I do think this run's given us a lot of hope for next season, but I do think, unfortunately, we are just a little bit short at the moment. I still think next week's a more than winnable game. If we win that, we sit on the same points as Spurs, and the battle for 7th is very much on, and maybe we can take some confidence back again. But the last 2 defeats have hurt our European bid, but I just don't think we should be getting at the players and getting at the manager. Obviously, people are free to do whatever they see fit, but I just think they've gone on such an amazing run. They deserve so much credit for the position that they've put us back in. They've put some pride back in the shirt that hasn't been there for years, really. So especially in the Premier League. So it's been great to see. But he's back. Are you back? What's going on?
I'm back.
Me, right? You've saved my ramble. You've saved my ramble. Let's talk about a positive thing. There was one positive yesterday that I can muster. It was good to see Diego Carlos back.
Yeah.
Back on the pitch, wasn't it? I'm not sure Conte enjoyed going to right back, particularly.
Kicking a few passes as well.
Yeah. But Diego Carlos, I just felt he moved the ball very fast. and he's on
yeah,
the ball. He moves it quick, which is the way Emery wants to play. And it was great to see him back on the pitch because he's been out for so long. Again, people were knocking him for laughing at the end of the game and hugging his former manager. The guy's just had an absolute horrific injury, moved countries and got injured immediately. Again, I think we can probably cut him some slack for having a laugh with his old manager at the end of the game. He's probably just relieved that he's ended up back on the pitch. But he's good to see him back because if you think about him and Kamara have missed a lot of football this season, and those two really were our big summer signings, weren't they?
Yeah, Kamara especially, he's been, when he's played, he's been our best player really a lot of the time. So, it's a hell of a player to miss for half the season pretty much, hasn't it been? And then Kamara and then Carlos has been pretty much the entire season. But yeah, it's good to see him back. And he pinged a great ball for Watkins.
You can see he's got a good pass in his locker.
His range of passings are unbelievable, honestly. I think if we had him in this run, I know he's been fit, but has he been match fit is another point. But again, a really good player, especially when you're playing against a Wolves side of parking the bus, having that ability to ping balls from deep. Someone like that, is a really we see with Trent Alexander-Arnold for Liverpool, for example, playing in midfield and playing sort of balls from deep. If you have someone like Carlos, I'm not saying he's got the same ability. I'm not saying that, but you saw with that pass and another ping to the left-hand side to Luka Dean, you see his ability on the ball, and it's just a shame we haven't had him. And again, in the context of that, Villa have done fantastic. So overall, I'm disappointed. As another loss to Wolves. We knew it was going to be difficult.
It's a horrible bogey team to have, I will say.
Yeah, but also we can't do anything. Play Man United away from home, Wolves away from home. Two very tough teams.
Two teams we've never done great against.
Never done great against, and also on the home patch this season, they're both doing really well. I know Wolves have been terrible overall, but at home they keep clean sheets, and it was always going to be difficult when they conceded that first goal. So I think, next week, who knows? Win that game against Spurs. You just never know. You never know. I don't think we should lose hope.
I don't think it's over at all.
It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult.
It's tough. It's not over though. We beat Spurs next week, which is easily doable. I've not watched Match of the Day yet, so I haven't seen Spurs' performance yesterday. But, they beat Crystal Palace 1-0 at home. Fine. Many teams will do that. They're completely beatable next week at Villa Park. I wouldn't say for 1 second Spurs are back. It's a good chance for us to get behind them again, like we did at Newcastle against Newcastle. A big game. Get behind, harness that atmosphere again, create something, and go at them and cause them problems. And I think we will. I think there'll be a reaction next week. The players won't want this season to peter out at all. Exactly. And Unai Emery won't let them.
Exactly. And I think for Emery, it's an important period, I think, because things have been going so well. If we are struggling in these next few games, it's going to be able to see the measure of a man, in terms of, that phrase, in terms of these players and how they handle the pressure. He's almost purposefully these last few weeks been talking about Europe, putting that pressure on the players, saying, now we need to perform. This is an important point. We can definitely get to Europe. I want to see the players play under pressure. And I think he's going to make a few key decisions on the back of these games, I think. I wouldn't be surprised to see, him assessing players in terms of their mentality. I'm not saying, again, going back to, about players, they're doing so well, but in terms of those key positions, in terms of these key games, can these players handle it? And he's going to want to win things with this club, and he needs players who've got that mentality to win things and go get over that final hurdle, whether it's in the League Cup or the League or FA Cup or European football, whatever it is. He needs players with that right mentality who are difference makers in those important matches. And I think this is going to be a good barometer for that for next season as well. So even if we peter away, I think there's still a lot to take from these games. And let's just hope we do well next week. The fans are going to be up for it. The Villa Park needs to get behind the players. We need to make it really difficult. We haven't beaten Spurs at home for 15 years, I think it is. I may be wrong. I'm pretty sure that's the stat. So
it was 2008. 1st of Jan, I think, 2008.
Yeah. Was that when Martin Lansford and Melbourne scored? I think.
Yeah.
I was there. Yeah. So, yeah, and we need a performance like that. Really, Ashley Young was playing then. Maybe you can do it again, but we win next week. Like I said, who knows? You never know.
Yeah, when you lose 2 games in a row, it obviously affects the league table. And unfortunately, Liverpool and Brighton in that time have done well as well. That neither of them have been dropped points in the time that we've lost 2 games in a row. So just like when we kept winning and we were moving up because teams around us were dropping points, it's levelled out now and they've got those games in hand.
Yeah.
All they've had those games in hand as well. Brighton have done incredible things this season. Unfortunately, Liverpool have got that in them where they can just turn it on. So it is now, I think, 7th the best we can hope for. At worst, 9th would be what would happen to us. But probably probably a good result for us in some ways. Yesterday, Liverpool beating Brentford, but I would still say there's nothing we can beat Spurs next week at Villa Park. Liverpool can be got at, and then you see where you are going into the last day when you've got a Villa Park that's really up for it and really going. It becomes a hard place for Brighton to then come and play. And we saw against Newcastle, we took on Newcastle at a time when they were absolutely flying, and we completely dismantled them. We deserve to win that game. These are the same players that did that. Just because they've lost a couple of games, don't write them off. Don't lose your faith in them.
And we've got squad back now. We've got players back now.
Yeah. Yeah, I was encouraged by the bench yesterday. The bench looked relatively strong, didn't it? Yeah. Coutinho didn't get on, which I thought he might at one point. I think if a fit Coutinho yesterday makes a hell of a difference to that game. I think
a Matty Cash as well. I think he's a big player. I think defensively, I think Ashley Young has been fantastic, but I think he's just lagging a bit. And
he shouldn't have to play the amount of games that he's had to play in the last few weeks.
I think if Matty Cash is fit, that's going to be a big player for us. And Kamara obviously is the other one. If you can get him,
Kamara will be in next week.
Yeah,
it'll be Kamara in for Traore next week, and I wouldn't surprise me if how we ended the game in the defence was how we started it next week against Tottenham. It wouldn't surprise me to see Konsa up against Son.
Yeah, that's a good shot, actually.
That wouldn't surprise me at all, in fairness. It's probably actually a sensible move. And, we talk about Carlos coming back, not taking anything away from Konsa because he's been absolutely unbelievable in this run as well. That they all have. You know what? We feel down. The players will as well. Yeah. The players will. Those players care.
About you've seen him again. You've seen him with McGinn's interview. Yeah. They definitely care.
They've not worked this hard to get up the table to fall away. They'll be as gutted as we are about the last two games. They want European football. You listen to them talk, and they mean it as well. They want to play in Europe. McGinn's talking like him and Mings are the two most experienced players who've been at Villa the longest there. They've never played in Europe. These players want it. Just sometimes, unfortunately, it doesn't happen for you. And the last two games have been an example of that. But for the 10 games before, things really were happening for us. We won games, perhaps, that we didn't necessarily deserve to win, games where we didn't play well, games where we scored late and things like that. It comes in fits and spurts, doesn't it, in football? But all is not lost. There's no way that we should be writing off this season. We can still finish 7th, absolutely.
Yeah. We get anywhere between 61 and 64 points, which is what's possible. I think is a good shout for Europe still for 7th place. So we'll see. And it's not on the end of the world if we don't get the Conference League. Let's try and get some momentum. I think that's the key. Let's not just let the season fall away with a damp squib, and then that does affect the players going into next season. I think if we manage just to beat Brighton and get a couple of draws, I think that's going to be a pretty good way to finish the season and then get excited for the summer with a window behind us. There's still plenty to look forward to, definitely.
Yeah, well, let's call it, because I'm worried you'll get called away again, and then I'll have to fill on my own, which nobody wants to see. Thanks to everyone who's joined us tonight to watch live. Hopefully you've taken something away from the video. And thank you to Omar as well. Thank you to Adam, sipping his wine, for producing as well. If you have enjoyed the video, give it a like. I know you won't have enjoyed the result, but if you've enjoyed the video, please give it a like. Did hit the likes target that I set in the last video, so I'm going to set one again of 150. So if you've enjoyed the video and you're enjoying the content, please smash the like button, as the influencers say. Leave a comment below as well with your thoughts, and let's start thinking about next week and Spurs now. Let's try and leave this one behind. Greg's been on holiday, as he always is, but we will do an 1874 this week, I hope, so watch out for that. But do subscribe to the channel with your post notifications on, so you know exactly when our videos are coming. As I say, thank you very much for those that have joined us live, and to those that will go on and watch as well. Have a good rest of the bank holiday weekend. Thank you for watching. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.